They get a call on the southbound side of the area where this MP had pulled them over. And it was 4 veteran MPs that pulled a car over. There was a woman in it, and she was really beat up. She was bloody lip, torn clothes. Everything was bad. All right. You can tell she'd just been assaulted pretty bad. She was from South America. And these 3 veteran officers kind of are standing around her. She's sitting on the curb, and they're kind of standing around her, and they're asking her questions, and she's not, being forthcoming. She's like, no, I tripped. No, it's fine. No, let me go. There's nothing wrong. The young MP sees them talking to her like that. And what does he notice based on all the training we did? He's like, man, they're like lording over her. They're standing on her when she's sitting down. They're doing all the wrong stuff. They're closed off. And he walks up, he goes, hey, can I take a crack at it? And they're like, yeah, go ahead, young buck. Yeah, knock yourself out. So what does this kid do? She's on her butt on the sidewalk. And he's like, well, I want to make her feel comfortable, so I'm going to get lower than her. In full uniform and everything, he goes and sits on his butt in front of her. Again, there's other cops there. He's safe. And he sits on his butt Indian style in front of her. He's like, hey, can I talk to you for a minute? And like her eyes got wide, and she started talking. Long story short, she ended up spilling the beans. And all those veteran officers couldn't get her to talk. They were just going to write it off. And this one kid softly, quietly started talking to her, and all of a sudden she couldn't stop talking. And what happened was it was actually a gang-related MS-13 gang in that area that was trafficking her sexually. They were using her against her will. Again, she's from South America, and I believe she didn't have legal resident status, so she was very scared of that. And long story short, they bust up this whole ring. MS-13, all these people go to jail for a long time. Just based off this kid, 19 years old maybe, understanding human behavior and baselines and anomalous behavior and when things don't fit and when you can turn and pivot. And that was a really kind of feather in my cap. And that was the first time I really got into human trafficking or understanding about it, because that really wasn't on my radar at that point. And I'm going, what do you mean? Human trafficking is happening around the bases? And that's when I went down the rabbit hole and found out, good Lord, it's happening everywhere. All left and right, this country, outside countries, everywhere, right? So what I want to do today is I want to go over some indicators, right? None of us are ninjas. None of us are like SWAT teams. We can't, build this intelligence network how to stop these people, but we can observe. We can see certain behaviors and go, wait a minute, that don't look right. I'm going to go ahead and investigate a little bit. So the first one, we're going to change up this format. If you've been with me before, I'm trying to keep it a little dynamic here. We're going to do one of these numbers. I'm going to bring one of these up, and I'm going to talk about it for a little bit. Everybody can see that. The first indicator that I found from a lot of these resources, they'll tell you they will give preference or special attention to the child. When it comes to grooming habits and you being around your family, we don't have the ability to see all this stuff, but we have the ability to see grooming, okay? We can see who's around us, who is talking to our kids and children, and look for grooming behavior, because they're absolutely doing it. And that's the first one, is that they're going to give preference or special attention to a child, all right? So we get that. We've seen that before. So let's dissect that a little bit. If I said that person has to give preference, you got to ask yourself, what situation would a child receive preference in? That's my first thought in my head. Where would they receive special attention or preference? That's only in a certain amount of spaces, right? What situation, and you all can put it in the chat, what situation here would your child be in a position where they're around adults where they would get special treatment, all right? Not saying it's nefarious. I'm just saying, think about the situations in your life that your children get into, and what are they? What are those situations? And go ahead and think of them if you can throw them in there. But I'll go ahead and add some of mine I thought of right here. School, athletics, church events, piano lessons, youth camps, anywhere and everywhere, religious excursions, parties, whatever it is. There are all these situations where we do have other adults out there mingling with the children. Yeah, school, video games, yep, social media, toy aisle, absolutely, birthday parties. Oh, great comments, everybody. So think about that. There's a lot of places that we can have this commingling, but there's not an infinite amount of places where it can have this commingling. So I'm not saying all these people are evil, bad people. I'm just saying we have to dissect the situation, go, when is my child going to be in this situation? So you can have a little bit more awareness. Go, all right, it's not a bad situation yet, but just aware my child is going in this situation, all right? And if you're looking at this stuff going, piano lessons, oh my God, my kid's in baseball, my kid's doing piano lessons, my kid's doing all this stuff, and it's freaking you out a little bit. What we're doing here is targeting, okay? This is what the traffickers, this is what the people grooming, the sexual predators are doing to our children out here in the wild. So if it gets you a little queasy dissecting this stuff, hey, you need to get on board, because other bad people are doing this to you and your family. So I'm going to get real smart and learn how to target too. If we have all these places, athletics and piano lessons and baseball and sports and school, how do you keep track of all that? How do we spot for someone getting special attention more than the other ones? And this is what I'm going to talk about real quick. Distance, attention, and a touch barrier. All right. 3 separate things, but they all kind of tie together. I'm going to use some jargon here, but y'all will make sense. So that first one, let's talk about distance. All right. When I teach people with my Safe Observer program, we break down all these kinesics and proxemics, but one of the ones is proxemics. All right. The study of distance between people. So one of them, the indicators is called a proxemic push. So I'm not necessarily putting my hands on you or pushing you or anything, but let's say I get a little bit too close in your bubble and you don't know me or you don't like me. What are we probably going to do? Sign of discomfort. You probably move away a little bit. Subtle, but that's what we're looking for. So if you have a situation where an adult maybe gets close to a child and you see an overt sign of discomfort or them trying to get away, that's a proxemic push away. What's the reason for the push? Are they telling them they can't play, whatever it is? You got to put things in context. But I'm just giving you an example of distance where an adult has closed the distance and for whatever reason, the child has had a reaction of backing up or creating distance or trying to get away from them. So indicator of discomfort right there. I want to know what the discomfort about. It could be completely innocuous, but I'm going to find out what that is. All right. Attention. Let's look at that. If we're in a crowded area, youth camp, baseball, whatever it is, and you have an adult giving a child attention. I've given children attention before when I'm trying to teach them something, when I'm taking doing Boy Scouts or whatever it is. So there are situations, obviously, where adults are going to commingle. But if you notice the attention is not equal and there's no reason for the attention, then you should start paying attention. Okay, I'm just throwing this out there hypothetically. We have a baseball team. All the kids are playing, but I notice the coach is, zoomed in on my kid, and he's always talking to my kid. They're always yucking up, whatever. And I go to the coach and I go, yeah, what's up with that, man? You guys are always kind of in the corner or whatever. And maybe he tells me, he goes, hey, look, your kid kind of sucks, man. I've been working him on the side. I've been pitching. And he's like 10% less sucky, but he still needs more work. All right, roger that. I got that. As opposed to where you have a star player and this coach is giving them more and more and more attention. I think everyone sees where I'm going here. So within context, an inappropriate amount of attention and time with that child. So distance, attention, and that last one being the touch barrier. Most people don't even realize there is such a thing as a touch barrier. There's a lot of people that should know there's a touch barrier, but this is often seen with men and women, male and female, where with females, you basically have to invite a touch. What do I mean by that? Not sexual. I'm not talking about that. But if I'm a male and a female, I'm talking to another woman and we don't know each other and she's not comfortable with me and I reach out and I tap her on the shoulder, people don't like that. It's like, I didn't give you permission. But if we hugged and we're comfortable, or the woman might initiate a touch on the shoulder, non-sexual, now that's kind of like, all right, hey, we're cool. That's a touch barrier. And what people get wrong a lot is they break touch barriers all the time. And I'll tell you one thing, my sister-in-law was pregnant and I've never had kids and I never realized how many people want to go touch your belly. It's like negative, get away from her. No, you're not touching her. We don't know you. But to me, that's a touch barrier you don't break. And some people are totally okay with that. So that's what I came up with to look for. Looking at the proxemics, looking for discomfort when it comes to distance, looking for inappropriate amount of tension or attention for no reason, and that touch barrier. If I see 3 of these indicators with an adult and a child, guess what, brother? You have my full attention at this point. Could it be innocuous? Absolutely. But we're going to find out. Just like old Ronnie Reagan used to say, trust but verify. So what if you spot one of these? Let's say we go to that situation, that baseball game, that youth event or whatever it is, and you spot it. Happens right in front of you, like that baseball coach. What do we do with that? Do you run up and Goldberg that person? Do you jack him in the face? Do you call the cops? What is it, right? What you need to do is understand this. You're going to do what you're going to do. I train people on what to do, but you're going to do what you're going to do. So before you do that, I need you to understand this point right here. Look at this guy right here. Predators will push boundaries as a strategy. You understand that? Predators will push boundaries as a strategy. They're using this as a tactic. So they will walk up and they will break a touch barrier with a kid. Innocuous. Again, nothing crazy, nothing over the top. It's very subtle. 5% discomfort. And they'll do it in front of a caregiver or an adult or a mother or a father. They'll do it right in front of you. Why are they doing it right in front of you? I want everyone to answer. There's a little bit of a delay, but I'm not going to say anything till y'all answer. Why would they do that little maneuver right in front of the parent, right in front of your eyes? I'll wait. All right, there we go. Yeah, it floods in. They're testing. Exactly. Y'all know They're testing, they're probing, they're seeing what's tolerated. They're seeing what you do. They're watching you just as much as they're watching the situation. It's like a poker game. They're watching your tells. Oh, yeah, y'all are on fire right now. Yep. They're probing. They're doing a probing action. They're seeing where you're weak. So what do? In a situation where we don't have a crime, obviously, a lot of the time you're never going to see the actual abuse. But the second you see a behavior that makes you uncomfortable, you walk up and put it on the table. Go, hey, man, let me talk to you real quick, coach. Hey, check it out. In my house, we have rules, and the rules, and this is me, my rules, my kids don't touch other adults. Other adults don't touch other kids. We don't have secrets outside of our family, whatever the situation is. And you put it out there. You don't have to be a jerk. You just say, that's something we don't do. Good to go? Any questions? Cool. Have a good day. At that point, you've put them on notice. And again, it could be something innocuous. It could be someone, who's overly friendly with a child, but nowadays, do people know not to be overly friendly with somebody else's kid? Yeah, it's kind of a given. So that's something to definitely want to look for that and address it, put it on the table, make sure they know that you are watching them and they're watching. So when you see that, go ahead and throw that on the table. All right. And another big indicator right here, and why I did this, everybody, is because sometimes they tell you the indicator and they don't really tell you much what to do with it after that point. So this is another one. This is a much more insidious version of it. So instead of targeting the child, what are they doing? They're targeting you. They're targeting the family. Offers to help the family in a big way, pay a big bill, offers a family vacation to Disneyland, presents and gifts, especially gifting kids to the kid. That's obviously a problem, but they might be gifting you. They might be taking you out on the town, taking you to dinners, okay? They might, because they want to add in an element of control there, because if you're paying bills, no way could this knight in shining armor ever be a bad person, all right? I'm going to play a video real quick, 10 seconds, and just give you an idea who the normal people are who are predators.
He was funny. He had a Porsche.
He didn't come asking for help or anything like that. He came offering to help.
He was always a part of the game.
He was very charismatic. People liked being around him.
A lot of talk and Mr. Cool.
Very respectful.
Kind of like a grandfather type.
If we were playing tag, he was playing. If we were climbing trees, he was climbing trees with us.
A real upstanding, good kid.
He was a natural leader.
He was from my community.
He made himself the person who solved problems for people.
He'd worked with children all of his life.
Comes from people we know and trust. That's a very scary thought. We like to think it's that evil person in a trench coat somewhere waiting to do harm. Oftentimes it can be a loved one of someone close to the family, because this is the strategy they use. They use probing techniques. They get in close with you. Do they do all the things I'm talking about? They build that trust, they build that rapport, and they strike when the iron's hot. I'll tell you right now, we're talking about human trafficking, grooming children, but the stuff I'm talking about and the way they do it on social media, it's almost the same as ISIS does it. If you ever heard one of these child brides back in the day, blonde-haired, blue-eyed woman from Austria flies to Syria to be an ISIS bride. How did that happen? It was a very specific procedure. It was step-by-step procedure. They radicalize them step by step. Same thing with grooming, okay? They're not talking about sexual advances right off the bat to the child. They're getting them used to that and conditioning them to where one day that's okay. So we definitely want to be on the lookout for that. And then another big one, this is huge, is gaining access through online, gaining access through social media or whatever it is, and gaining and retaining information on your children, okay? And it's not just what you think it is and making friends. It could be catfishing, and it's not just on social media too. Call of Duty, Fortnite, all that stuff your kids are playing, they're setting up accounts on there. They're setting up fake accounts to talk to children, to catfish them, to get them to meet them somewhere, whatever it may be. So it's not just Instagram and Snapchat and all this other stuff. It's Call of Duty and Fortnite. So do you even know what your kids are playing out there? Listen to your kids sometimes. If you've got kids that play Call of Duty, they mightn't be a good kid, but listen to some of the stuff they say when they play. They turn into absolute demons, But these predators, that's their hunting ground. Social media, online, catfishing, on the video games, it's their hunting ground. Think about it. Where does a child predator go? If I need to groom a child, where am I going to go? I'm going to go where children congregate. All those places we listed, pianos, sports, and whatnot. Not only am I going to go there, I'm going to put myself in there. I'm going to be the coach of that team. I'm going to be the whatever that team. And I'm, again, everybody, context relevance. I keep using coaches. I'm not disparaging coaches here. I don't think the coaches are a bunch of predators, but I think you understand what I'm saying. They're very smart. They don't want to get caught. Do you know what happens to these predators in prison? They do not want to get caught. It's all bad for them. So they will do what they have to. So when it comes to online and being able to do that, again, what can we specifically do? So the first one we hear about a lot is the monitoring. Obviously, we can monitor. We have apps, we have tracking apps, website filters, alerts, automation. That's my big thing right here is everybody in the world should understand that there's apps that you can track your kid. But most people don't realize how easy it is to set up. You can set up these apps like it's called Monitor. Monitor is one of the apps. You can set them up with automatic alerts to your phone. So when something is tripped or something is triggered or an adult contacts your kid, it goes right to your phone. That's a very smart way to do business instead of hoping you're going to be paying attention to that stuff. So Monitor, use that technology, and a lot of it's very cheap, right? Engage them. This is a funny one, especially me being not having kids. Engage them, ask them questions, get a sense of their online footprint. When I say their online footprint, what are they doing? Are they on Snapchat? Are they on Facebook? Well, they're probably not on Facebook, and you probably don't even know what Facebook is, but are they on the social media sites? Are they playing Call of Duty? Are they playing Roblox? Are they playing Fortnite? Do those games have, are they chatting with other people? That's what I mean by the online footprint. And what is their activity? Is it they use it sometimes, they only use it to play video games, or are they on that thing all the time and they're developing, relationships on there? So just kind of find out, get an idea what your child's footprint is, and you might find some scary things in there. They get inundated with all that stuff in there. And then finally, so the engagement, this is more along the lines of, being a good parent, listening to your kid. I get it. No one wants to listen about gives a crap about Fortnite and his KD range or whatever, but that's being a good parent, engaging. So that's non-accusatory. You're just trying to get an idea what their footprint is. Now this slide, this little guy right here, when I say question them, this is when we're getting a little bit sneakier. Now I'm not saying go into like interrogation mode and be like, tell me who sent you, or freak out, but this is getting more specific. Maybe you've identified something. Maybe you've identified an inappropriate behavior. Maybe their volume is whatever it is. Start asking specific questions, all right? But when you ask the questions, open-ended narrative questions, right? You want them to talk. You want them to talk. You want them to tell the story. You want to understand, okay? Why I'm telling you to do that, because you know the baseline of the children. You understand their speed, their cadence, their how they make eye contact, their wiggles, whatever it is. So I want you to listen to how they're, not only what they're saying, but how they're saying it. Are they excited about it? Are they having fun? Are they making eye contact? Are they loud? Are they like jumping around? Or when they explain it, is it more subdued? Are they making themselves smaller? Are they covering their face? Are they looking down? Are they mumbling? Okay, all that metadata means something, all right? Because if you're paying attention that specifically, you're definitely going to see when an anomaly happens. When there's some type of baseline change, things really start changing, you're going to have, forewarning because you asked the questions and you had the kid talk about it, all right? And that last one right there, you hear about kids don't know how to lie. People have said that to me before. Our kids don't lie. They don't know how to lie. What are you talking about? Kids are little lying, little SOBs, man. They lie all the time. But the good thing about children is they don't necessarily know what to lie about. All right. They haven't cognitively got that way. They might know something is bad in general, but they don't know what part of it is bad. So they might start beating your chest about it and talking about it when you're asking some of those open-ended questions there. I'll give you an example. All right. This is not a human trafficking example. It's more terrorism, but it's still pretty cool. It was one of the guys we were chasing over there in Iraq for a lot of years, a guy by the name of Musab Al-Zarqawi. If you remember him, kind of a knucklehead. And we were chasing this knucklehead all over the place. And what actually got him at the end of the day was a kid. It was like 8-9-year-old kid. That's what got him caught. What happened is this terrorist cell was taken down, and they pulled 2 kids out of there. The kids are the parents in the terrorist cell, the 8 and 4 years old. They start questioning these kids. The 9-year-old, the boy, the 3 or 4-year-old, he doesn't know what's going on. The 9-year-old, he's just puffing his chest out. He's like, don't worry, when my dad finds me, he's going to kill you. I'm going to cut the head off Americans. He's like fully indoctrinated, full blown bin Laden, and they're bringing in other interrogators, be like, hey, tell me what you just said. And be like, hey, if I had a knife, I'd kill you right now. So fully indoctrinated. And they bring in a specialist to talk to him, a special interviewer, and they're talking to him. And so he's like, so your dad's involved in, all this stuff. He goes, heck yeah, my dad's involved. My dad's not involved. My dad's like the number 2. And they're like, oh, really? How you figure? Why? A lot of people say that, kid. He's probably just telling you stories. Nope. I know he's in number 2 because Abu Musab Al-Zarqawi visited our house the other day. Oh, yeah? When was that? It was Friday, about 12 o'clock. And it was so cool because he rolled up and he had his own like blue Beamer with like tinted windows. And they're like, blue Beamer, tinted windows? Okay, About a week later, we dropped a piano on that guy's head. So that guy, the kid, wanted to lie, but he didn't really necessarily know what to lie about. So that's something you can look at, And the final point I want to bring up here is a couple things here. I'll do this first. All right. So we're talking about questioning kids, engaging them with questioning the kids, questioning adults, putting things on the table with adults. All right. Again, if we see these situations, those predators use it as a strategy, use it as a tactic. You don't have to be impolite. You don't have to freak out and make a scene. You just walk up and put it on the table. Now, when we're talking to the adults, I guess when you're talking to the kids too, let's talk about some deception indicators. If you're having a conversation with someone and they start giving you these indicators, I'm not saying they're 100% lying to you. All right. I'm not saying that, but you might want to start paying attention. So the first one, Duper's Delight. And we go over this in my Safe Observer program. My Safe Observer program has got like 3.5 hours of all this information, specific indicators. And I have a whole section on deception detection on people are lying to you. And I talk about Duper's Delight. It's kind of a weird word, Duper's Delight. Duper's Delight is if you're talking to somebody, you're asking a question, or let's say you're talking to that coach and it's an uncomfortable conversation and you're telling them, hey, we have rules in this house. Kids don't touch adults don't touch my kids. They don't touch adults. And you're having this conversation and you see little micro smiles start to come out, little smiles. It's called Duper's Delight. And maybe they're answering. Think about that situation. You're talking to another adult about putting their hands on your kid or being inappropriate with your kid. Okay. What does a smile have to do anywhere near that conversation, or a laugh? If it's a giggle or a laugh, something like that, that could be considered Duper's Delight. What on earth is a smile, laugh, or giggle doing anywhere near that conversation, especially the person you're talking to? Again, if they smile and do it, I don't say 100% they're going to be nefarious, but Duper's Delight can often be a deception indicator. Think of it like they're telling you a story and they're getting away with it. You see what I mean? They feel like, oh yeah, I'm getting away with it. They don't even know. So, and they're getting excited about that. So look for Duper's Delight. Kinesic slips. Duper's Delight is part of a kinesic slip. And again, if I'm throwing big words at you, this is all included in the Safe Observer program. But a kinesic slip, if I'm talking to someone, questioning them, and they tell me or do something that doesn't fit. What am I saying? No, I didn't touch your kid. No, it was completely appropriate what I did. And I took him back there, but I didn't touch him at all. I'm saying I didn't touch your kid, but I'm nodding my head yes, or vice versa. Saying the word no, but what am I doing with my head? I'm shaking my head, vice versa. You know what I'm saying? That's a kinesic slip. That's a no fit. That's something we definitely want to pay attention to. Do I jump up and jack him in the face with my fist? Not necessarily at this point, but different more points that I can pull on that I want to pay attention to, right? And this one specifically, there's all sorts of deception indicators. Like I said, the Safe Observer program has hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of these behavioral cues at you. But the one I wanted to add in here, especially when it comes to predators, especially in sexual nature, is not willing to take no for an answer. That's a problem. You see this with rapists, women who have been raped and they've been debriefed and they talk about the crime and they share what happened. At first, they would talk to some of these criminals and they say, hey, let me walk you home. Let me take you home. Well, my car's right over here. At first, and they're like, no, thanks. And they're like, no, I insist. No, you're going to come with me. Come on, let's go. At first, it was kind of cute and kind of charming. But, how many times does that, get old? And they would keep going. And then it's like all of a sudden it got uncomfortable where this person just belligerently was saying, no, you're coming with me. They're thinking of it as charming. They use that charm a lot. But if you can realize that's really a sociopathic behavior, it's not good. It's not good. I'm not saying you're a bad person if you do this, but you should stop, okay? Because, boundaries and all that. And if you have a person that keeps pushing that boundary, not going to say punch them in the face, but you got all my attention, brother. So those are the indicators I want to talk about. I like going to the organizations and hearing what the indicators, but they just don't give you a lot of information. It's like, hey, there's 1 million predators out here after your kids. Watch out. It's like, watch what? What are we watching for? And that's the sad part is if you don't see these pre-event indicators, you don't look for the behaviors, and someone doesn't show you, take your head and go look, you're not going to see them.